Okay, this is going to be my last one for today. So I did a death this morning, and I pronounced a guy. I saw the same guy yesterday, and he had what we call the death rattle. I hate using that name, but everybody knows what it means. And if you don't, you're about to. So, the death rattle is when a patient is in the active dying process and they are very, very, very close to being, the active dying process is when a patient transitions into where their body's not going to turn around. It doesn't matter what we do, what we give them, it is not going to turn around. So we consider them to be active dying. And there are symptoms across the board that are generally the same. It's different with each patient which symptom is which, but that we deal with during that time. And terminal secretions is one of them, which is basically I'm not, like I said, I'm not an expert. I've already said this, so I can just give you general. Basically, the the body's slowing down, the lungs are not, breathing as deeply, and you have secretions that settle right in here. That is a symptom that is not uncomfortable for the patient. How we know that, I don't know. Just known that for a very long time. But it is extremely uncomfortable for the families to hear. I mean, it's almost like, isn't nature kind of cruel? But not really. So, that is the one symptom that I can honestly say in all of my years that I have had a hard time getting controlled on at times. If you don't catch it ahead of time, or if it comes on rapidly, it can be hard to control. Everyone wants to suction, and we do a type of suction, which is sticking something in their mouth. The issue with that is the more you suction, the more secretions that they get. So it's just in there. It's just like, pouring water into a bucket with a hole in it. You just, the more that you suction, the more secretions they are going to produce. So it's one of those things where it is, if we're able to manage it with medication, we have different types of medications, then we do, and majority of the time we can get that under control. And I have some tricks of mixing up some different medicines in the e-kit and things that I have tried over the years, but there's just always that one, and this poor guy was that one. And so we were doing some suction when I got there yesterday. You could hear it out in the hallway, and for those of you that have heard it, you know that's very hard to hear. So unfortunately, it was very hard for the daughter. I did learn to deep suction yesterday. For you nurses on here, we're going to be like, you didn't know how to deep suction? Never done it, because I've done hospice the whole time. But it was extremely satisfying. But anyway, so we suctioned him over the last few days to get him as clear as we could, and this morning he finally passed. So I went up there, pronounced the guy, and his daughter was there, and I just got a chance to sit down and talk with her as I was getting ready for the funeral home. And one of the comments that she made was that she wasn't here yesterday, and that she felt bad that he passed overnight when she was not there. She asked me, do most patients die at night? Yes, they do. I don't know why, but they do. The majority of the patients are going to pass at night. We do have some that do it during the day, but it's just not very often. So there's something about the nighttime. So I told her yes. And she's like, well, I was at home at sleep. I couldn't handle the secretions yesterday. And she was like, and I needed to get some rest. And so I explained to her, I said, and there may be people that disagree with me on this, but this is what I've seen all of my years, is if the patient wants you there, then they're going to wait on you. And people are like, no, they couldn't do that. Yes, they can. I have seen a patient hang on for 2 weeks waiting on that one daughter, son, whoever, to fly in or to call or to let go. You don't really ever know what they're hanging on for, but sometimes when they're just kind of hanging out, they're hanging on. Otherwise, they don't want anybody in the room. So if they don't want you in the room, they're not going to go with you in the room. So in other words, I have had a lady, this poor lady had her family, there's like 25 of them that were sitting around just watching her for days. No one wanted to leave her alone. There was at least 10 to 15 people in the room at all times. And this is when in the very beginning, 15 years ago when I first started doing this, and this lady was a very classy lady. And I told her daughter, I said, I don't think she's going to die with all of these people that are watching. I mean, this lady was breathing like 4 respirations a minute. You hospice nurses know what I mean, for 2-3 days. Everybody had seen her. There was nobody left. You know, there had been some arguing amongst the kids, but that had stopped. And so I just told him, I said, you know, my personal opinion, I just really don't think that she is going to pass with all of these people. And so, and I said, you know, do with that whatever you want. That night, they needed a break. You know, everybody was worn out, so everybody went home to their respectful places, hotel, whichever, and it was just the daughter and I believe either her child or sister, or the patient's sister, and she passed in the middle of the night with those two only. So I have seen it happen. So if the patient decides to go when you are not there, that is intentional and it is not your fault. There's nothing you could have done to change that. I have seen people sit in a room, and as soon as every single person walks out of the room, I mean, it could be 2 minutes of 2 weeks that they have been there and that patient passes. And that is just because that is how that patient chose. Because from what I have seen, and in my personal belief, they have way more control over the dying process than what we think that they do or want to give credit for. And yes, they can hear you. And they're more worried about you than they are about themselves, because they know that it's going to hurt. They know it's going to be sad. But they just want to know that you're okay. So anyways, so that's that for today. Maybe tomorrow I'll have some more pearls of wisdom. We'll see how these few videos do. Again, if you want to see more, like and share. And if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I will be deleting the channel because I'm not going to keep posting videos if it's not reaching anybody. So hopefully this is going to help someone. Have a blessed day.